Last Thursday's really kind of out of the blue. Well, it wasn't blue. It got really dark late afternoon, right around 5:30, 6 o'clock. And I noticed looking out our windows, I said, boy, it's starting to rain, but that rain looks like it's coming sideways. And then, wow, wall of water, the wind, it was, thunder, lightning, you name it. But to our northeast, tornadoes hitting in a line from Durand through Vernon, which is kind of running on a diagonal toward, Corunna and Owasso in that area. They got nailed pretty hard. Tom Barrett, state senator, Charlotte, that's part of his district. He was up there touring on Friday, getting the thumbnail. He's with us now. Morning, sir.
Good morning, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing all right. What'd you see up there in terms of damage? I've seen some video, of course, and pictures, and some of it looked pretty darn significant. Yeah,
it absolutely was. There was it was quite severe, the property damage that we saw. Representative Ben Frederick, my colleague or counterpart in the state house who represents that area, was with me as well as Sheriff Brian Pickle for the community, and we were out, just kind of taking an assessment and trying to, work with the local and the state collaborators there.
Right.
Saw some really serious destruction, though. I will say we're extremely grateful that there was no loss of life that's been reported. We believe everybody's accounted for at this point. There's about 20 homes that are completely destroyed, as best we can tell, and probably 60 to 70 that are with substantial damage. But again, with no loss of life, we're very, very thankful for that. But the destruction was just heart-wrenching to see on the ground there. Several instances, talked to people who, whose homes were leveled and destroyed, but they were able to get out with their life, and they were thankful for that. And of course, in perspective, we're very grateful for that as well. But it's going to take a lot to rebuild now. So,
what will the state be able to do for assistance? I mean, you assume people have, for homeowners, property owners, you have insurance is step one, but, some people, maybe some of those tie into home business or other things or small business in the area as it gets more rural, as you veer further away from I-69, and there may be issues along those lines. Is the state prepared to assist?
Yeah, so Representative Frederick and I were on hand when the local emergency declaration was made Friday evening.
Okay.
That was transmitted up to the state police, who are the state department that kind of vets those out for a state of emergency to be declared by the governor. They are in the process of reviewing that, and will be transmitting a recommendation to the governor, we think, very soon. For the immediate needs, a lot of the local resources have been exhausted as far as, personnel and equipment, manpower and equipment to help clear this debris out and help with the rebuilding effort. So we're hoping the state can assist with that. Also, as well as, kind of backfilling some of the, expenses that the local community has incurred so far. They do have an emergency fund, but of course that was exhausted when you have two tornadoes of this magnitude rip through the community like it did. And then, the next thing will be the state, hopefully with some equipment and some resources to help with that immediate need. And then we'll take an assessment of, what we can do to assist people with the long-term kind of restoration of what it will take. I will say, though, that both Representative Frederick and I were very, very proud of the resiliency of the community. We walked down one street that was particularly heavily hit, and we almost couldn't hear each other's conversation because there were just chainsaws running nonstop all around us, every single yard. People coming over to lend a hand to one another's neighbors to help clear out that debris. And help with the cleanup and everything else. So that was really, really just impressive to see people coming together that way.
Yeah, and we, here in Mid-Michigan, that's how we roll, right? I mean,
it is.
You get back at it. You help people out where you can, and you give them a hug too. And sometimes you need all you need all the above. I want to veer away here just for a second to talk about auto no-fault reform. Now, auto insurance no-fault reform, rather. You've been a big proponent of that. Seems like we're getting a little bit closer, and yet now, hey, I note the presidential candidates are starting their trips in to Michigan, and you wonder, as we visit with John Selleck, that maybe some of the attention goes away from getting stuff done at the Capitol. Is that likely, or are we making good progress here towards something that a lot of people want?
Yeah, I'm very optimistic that we're making good progress. As you mentioned, this has been a huge priority of mine, and I serve on the Insurance and Banking Committee in the Senate. I've sat through the testimony that you've covered on your show, and I'm very, very hopeful that we can get something done. I think the stakeholders in this are more interested in finding a solution because they realize the precarious nature of this. A lot of the opponents to reform, I believe, are now more startled that they could lose out because there's this lawsuit that the mayor of Detroit has in court right now that could rule the law unconstitutional because of the undue hardship it places on those with limited assets and means. And then there's also the potential that this could go to the ballot. Dan Gilbert, wealthy billionaire that owns probably half the property in Detroit, has said that he's interested in putting this issue before the voters on the ballot if the legislature can't find a solution. So I think some of the status quo protectors are very concerned that they could lose out much more substantially in a process like either one of those would potentially bring about.
All right, Tom Barrett, state senator from Charlotte. We got the lowdown on what is going on with the tornado aftermath, and with 2 touchdowns there in the Shiawassee County area around Durand and Vernon, and upwards of 60, 70 homes damaged, 20 destroyed. A lot of work still to do there. Great having you on today. I appreciate the update all the way around. We look forward to our next chat.
Yeah, thank you.
State Senator Tom Barrett, and that's the latest.